Christ.
Amen.
Brothers and sisters, I want to say a few words at the end because our world is passing through an extremely difficult time this summer, or this year, for the last 2 years. We don't want to become like sectarians who are talking about last days and end times and things like this. But we do need to pay attention to the signs and the times. We've had a terrible time with the plague, the COVID plague, even getting a little worse now. But I urge everyone who hasn't been vaccinated to be vaccinated. It's your own choice. But not just for your sake, but yourself, but for the sake of your families, the sake of the people you work with, come in contact with. The wildfires this year have been extremely bad throughout the world because of the extreme heat that's come upon us this summer, the hottest summer on any record anywhere. It got up to 120 degrees in Sicily. That would be 50 degrees centigrade. When we read in the book of Revelation about the vials and bowls of wrath and poured out of the earth, if we look at them carefully, you'll see that mankind, we are the bowls of wrath. There's no punishment coming from God and no terrible things thrown down on us from God. The things we brought up on ourselves. We took of the good things of the earth, but we took carelessly, without consideration or thought. Because we're supposed to cooperate with the world around us, cooperate with the nature around us. Take of the good things we give in return and take care of. God appointed us as gardeners and caretakers of the earth. We took of all the good things of the earth with greed, with avarice, without even giving a second thought. The conditions that are brought upon us now are the work of mankind. We have created this global warming and climate change from our avarice and our greed, our thoughtlessness that has done it. The book of Revelation tells us that eventually a third of the fresh water will be toxic and a third of the seawater. And a third of the arable land will be burned up, unfit for crops. Well, okay, those things are happening around us. And we have to take credit for it. We can't blame God. We have to put it on mankind. It's not that each individual here has done something dreadful, it's just that mankind as a whole has. And we've not cared about the world, not loved the world, not cherished the world. As Christian people, we have a vocation for the life of the world, to sanctify the world. To help bring people really to God, mostly by the example of our lives, not just by talking. But next summer will be perhaps worse than this summer. It won't be better. Nor will the summer after. Each one will be worse. Because we still haven't learned the lesson. We still don't love our environment. We still don't love the world around. And we were put here to love the world because it's God's creation. Not just to make use of it, but to love it. To love our environment. With all the beauty that's been given to us. But we're the ones who are responsible for the great things that are going wrong with it. Even the plague of COVID. If we hadn't pushed ourselves so far into the realm where other creatures have to live and taken away their living space, deprived them of an environment in which they could thrive, we wouldn't have come in contact even with this disease. We'll come in contact with more as we continue to destroy the environment of other creatures. We'll discover new things that are hidden in nature that were kept from us, that our avarice won't let us stop. Of course we can do something, not a great deal, but we can do something to slow this down. But we won't, because we want to get everything for us out of this world. Nobody wants to yield. Nobody wants to give up. And it's very difficult to interfere with the profits of corporations. One of the great problems of our environment is that we're surrounded by pseudoestrogens in plastics, and everything is made from soy, and everything is made from petrochemicals. The petrochemical company corporation profits have been deemed sacred, a doctrine of some kind. So what can we do except to pray for the world? Not to live in terror or fear, although we have to live in some uncertainty. To take each one of us some concern for our children and our grandchildren, even to support politicians who want to do something about it. Not that you can trust politicians. But at least to pray for the world around us, to pray for those who are suffering so much more than we are. To just prepare ourselves that it's going to get worse as time goes by, unless we do something radical and drastic to change our whole lifestyle. Our lifestyle has been very expensive. Even for those with low income, lifestyle is very expensive. We have to use more and more and more and more until there's nothing left to use. We'll sacrifice our souls for convenience. We'll sacrifice our freedom for comfort. It's a stop and think a little bit as Christians people. That in this church, in this divine liturgy, we're not just here for ourselves as community. We're here for the life of the world. We're here to pray really and sincerely for all humanity, for suffering humanity, or humanity or thriving, but to take thought for our world and to learn how to love the world around us as God's creation and try to be as good stewards and shepherds as we can for this garden of creation in which we've been so blessed to live all our lives. But don't forget that in your prayers, pray for the world as well. And pray for the earth. Pray for nature. Pray for the environment. Pray that people will wake up and open their eyes and see. We don't want to start talking about last days and end times and things like this, which are written in God's wisdom and only God knows. But we do want to look at the signs of what we are doing that makes the book of Revelation come true through our actions, not through God's actions, through our own actions, the actions of humanity. And don't blame God for any of these things. Don't say that God's punishing or God's sending wrath. God is doing nothing of the kind. God has nothing but love for mankind. God will never harm his creature, no matter how far we're alienated from him. But we bring all this on ourselves. And what we can do now is maybe try to change our own lifestyles a bit and to keep the world in our prayers and mankind.